Hey folks, Jarin here from Guitar O.R. How's everybody doing? Today we're going to talk a little bit about upgrading your acoustic, your electric. There's a little slightly different facets to each one. The first thing is really nothing outside of a setup. Is it playing it properly? If it's playing its best, it's going to make a huge difference. If it's insulated properly, it's going to make a huge difference. You don't have to buy any products to make that happen. You typically can just take it into your local shop and they'll get it dialed in for you, and it'll be the single biggest upgrade you can do on your instrument without having to start worrying about bells and whistles. The next thing is for an electric, logically would be looking at upgrading the electronics. I'm a big fan of buying lower line models and upgrading the electronics, and you'll find that they rival higher end models without the higher end price. I love electric guitars, but are some of them worth $3, $4, $6 grand? I don't know. You guys decide. You let me know. This is a Squier bass, so it's a good chunk of wood. It's built well. They pump out a ton of them, so they're pretty equal quality. However, the electronics aren't amazing. So what I would do in this instance is I would probably look at upgrading the pickups. It's probably the second biggest thing you can do in terms of the quality of the instrument. And then if you're upgrading the electronics, it's not a bad idea to look at upgrading the pots as well, assuming they're not very good pots. Alpha pots typically aren't the greatest quality, so if you upgrade them along with the pickups, you'll get a little bit more bang for your buck. If they happen to come, like Mexi basses and guitars will often come with CTS pots, which are kind of the industry standard on quality. And if they do, then there's no need to upgrade them. So for this, I would probably look at upgrading both the J and the P pickup, along with all the pots and the input jack. That dialed in with the setup, man, this bass is going to be amazing, and it's going to be for considerably less than if you were to go and buy a retail brand new one from the retail guitar store. Another thing I would consider with an upgrade on these instruments would be the nut. Bone is the standard in terms of density. This one is probably Corian or micarta, which is a little bit better than plastic, but still a relatively soft material. Anything you can do to help the guitar or the bass resonate is going to help in terms of tone, and the nut can become a weak point if it's just a cheap piece of plastic. It kind of blows my mind on some of the basses and guitars, and especially acoustics that you'll buy, that you'll spend $4,000 to $6,000 and they'll come with a plastic saddle and a plastic nut. I like to tell my clients it's like driving a Ferrari with wooden tires. It just kind of baffles me that happens, but it does. So from this instance, once it's set up and it's dialed in, the frets are level and it's playing great. And then if you went and spent a bit of money on the pickups and the pots and you were upgrading the quality of the nut, it'd be an amazing bass for many, many years. And now we're going to talk a little bit about what you can do to upgrade your acoustic guitar. Here we have a beautiful old 1960s Harmony Sovereign. It underwent a neck reset a little while back, so it's playing really good. The frets have been leveled and polished, so they're playing really good. The next step would be to make sure that the nut and saddle are bone. That's, for an acoustic, that's an important part. Not as important on an electric because the pickups do a lot of the heavy lifting, but on acoustic it's a huge part of it. This guitar is equipped with a Corian saddle and a Corian nut, which isn't a bad material, but it could be better. I think you'll find if you put a new bone nut and saddle on this guitar, it'll reverberate quite a bit more. The whole idea is you just get a little bit more of everything, more mids, more treble, more bass. It can really bring your guitar back to life. Again, with some of the acoustics that we see, the J45s and these amazing guitars that come with plastic nuts and saddles, kind of baffles me. But you see it quite a bit, and it's a really common upgrade. And another advantage of the bone nut is you'll find that the strings don't saw into that nearly as quickly, so you're not going to have to raise the nut slots. Typically, once they find the proper level, you should be good for many, many years. Quality of the tuners play a role in this as well. These tuners on here have been upgraded, so they're quite good quality. They're probably geared 18-to-1. Vintage tuners of this era were probably 6-to-1 or 8-to-1, so they're a lot more clunky. So a good upgrade on tuners for an acoustic, especially vintage, is a nice way to spend a bit of money as well. There's a lot of nice products out there that are geared really high, 18-to-1, 21-to-1, but they look vintage. You need to spend a little bit more money because they're aged, but they can be amazing and they're era authentic. Something else to consider with your acoustic guitar is potentially installing a pickup on it. There's a lot of nice systems out there. LR Baggs and Fishman are two of the main brands that put out a lot of quality products. Any type of piezo, essentially the pickup that goes underneath the saddle, The piezo system pickups are really common. All the technology is in the Endpin jack, so there's not a lot of drilling. You've got a small hole in here already for a strap button. You just need to increase it a little bit more, and you put an Endpin jack in there. Typically, your volume and your tone will be inside the sound hole. You can buy pickups with outboard preamps that can be installed on the side of the guitar, but that involves cutting a hole in a guitar, and it's often not needed, and sometimes it can lead to problems. So most players of high-end instruments will tend to not want to cut a hole in their guitar. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.